Hello folks, today I am going to deal with a topic which has been the cause of many Nobel Prizes. So even a few years back, some of the Nobel Prizes were won based on this philosophy. And this philosophy was discovered in 1879 by Sir Edwin Hall. See, this is 2020, and even a few years back, Nobel Prizes were based on this thing. So some studies based on this thing were winning Nobel Prizes. So that is the significance of this philosophy. And is concerned with the magnetic field, of course, magnetic field and electric field combined. So what Mr. Hall did was, he used a conducting bar, conductor in the form of a bar. We have to draw a 3D picture here because the phenomenon involves all the three dimensions. So let me draw it in 3D, perspective view I would like to prefer. So somewhat like this, somewhat like this. So I'll show the other side also. So it will be like this. So from here should be like this, should be like this, and it should be like this, and then this. So to show that which is the front side and which is the back side, I'll use dotted lines here. So if I show dotted, that means it is the other side. It is the other side. The other side. So to enhance the perspective view, what I have done is I have made this thing shorter than this thing, and this thing shorter than this thing. So this and this front side, and this as well as this, they are the back side. So back side shorter, smaller, and front side longer or larger. So let us allow current to flow like this. So we connect it like this, and here like this. So we connect it to a source like this, So the conventional current flows like this, conventional current. But the electrons, they will flow like this. So this is the flow of the electrons. So let me write here. The flow of electrons will be from right to the left. Now let us write the dimensions. So its height here is h, and its lateral thickness is equal to T, lateral thickness. Yeah, and on this thing, Mr. Hall applied magnetic field transversely. So he wanted to, maybe he was fascinated with this thing, the motion of charged particles being affected by magnetic field applied across. So he applied magnetic field here. I'll show the magnetic field by this green marker, so things will be much more easier. So magnetic field is applied in such a way that it is north pole here and south pole there. So it will be, let me apply like this. So one line goes like this, another goes like this, and another somewhere in the middle it goes like this. So you can see here the field lines converging at that side. So this is N pole here, N pole, and this is S pole. So I have written N larger and S smaller to show that effect. And also what happens here is the field lines enter the metal block, somewhere. So it enters here. So this is the hole or something. This is the point which represents the entrance point, and here this point represents the exit point. And so it enters here, it exits here, but these things also are behind the metal bar. So that's why I'll use dotted lines to show these things. Dotted line, dotted, 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 dotted lines to show that they are behind the metal block. And I'll use these lines to cover the green things to show that, again, the same thing. The metal bar is in front of us, and the lines are behind the metal bar. So this is the complete diagram. Now what he discovered was, when the electrons flowed from here to here, so positive current goes from here to here, electrons go from here to here. These electrons faced Lorentz forces, and as I have said in previous lectures, if it is positively charged particles, the Lorentz force is like this. But if it is negatively charged particles, it will be opposite of this. So let's just hide this thing, and apply this thing. So we have magnetic field like this, magnetic field, and the electrons are coming like this. So it should be, let me apply this. So magnetic field here, the electrons coming like this, and had it been positive charges, the force would have been this, but they are negative, so the force should be opposite. So that's why the electrons will feel, as soon as they enter here, the electrons will feel an upward force, and they start to cling along the ceiling of this thing, So if this becomes a negative, then this end will become positive. It's not because of positive charges or something else, but since one of the ends become negative, the other has to become positive. So let's go for the forces. Had it been positive charge moving there, the force would have been magnetic field here, they are going there, force would have been here, had it been positive charges. But since they are electrons, the force is upwards. So these electrons will start to go up, and they start to flow from here till the magnetic field is there. And then we have got these, this is because of, since all the electrons have gone here, this part becomes positive charge. It is not the movement of charges. It's not the movement of positive charge, but it has become positive because of separation of negative over there. So till the magnetic field is there, these things will be separate. And when magnetic field is off, then they again recombine, because you can see here, negative, positive, they develop an electrostatic force. So because of this, they develop a potential difference, voltage. So if I use a device across these two faces, it will record a voltage. So we write a VH, that is Hall voltage, and this phenomenon is called as Hall voltage. And the direction of this electric field is, this thing is perpendicular to this thing, as well as this thing. So this thing is, as you can see here, this thing is perpendicular to this thing, you can realize, as well as this thing. So it is transfers to both the direction of current, as well as the direction of the magnetic field. So let's first go for the force here. The force experienced by the charged particles is the Lorentz force, which we call as BQV sine of 90 degrees. It is 90 degrees because the charged particles are coming like this, and the magnetic field is like this. It might look some different angle here, but in reality it is 90 degrees. So that's why it is sine 90 and becomes BQV. So this is the Lorentz force. And the velocity here, the charged particles move within a conductor. So the velocity V represents the drift velocity. It's not a direct velocity. It's not a straight line velocity. It is the random velocity, drift velocity, which is given by, so we have the value of drift velocity as V equal to I by NQA. It comes from the relation I is equal to NQV and A from the expression of the drift velocity. So we have that. So this Q and Q, they cancel each other, Q and Q. So it becomes BI and then NA. So this is the expression for the Lorentz force. Then, when the charges separate, they develop an electric force as well. So that's why the electric force there is F electric is equal to Q, then the PD over there, which is VH by the separation between these things. So it is equal to this H. So when this is H, this thing is also H. So it should be H here. Equation 2. Now after complete separation, they have come to the extremities, the attracting, which means the combining, and the separating force should be equal, because electric forces cause them to combine and the Lorentz force try them to send there. So Lorentz force try to separate, electric force try to combine them. So those two things should be equal here, because after that they are neither moving away nor moving nearer. So that's why the two forces should be equal after they reach here significantly. So at that time I should have Fe should be equal to Fl, which gives me, it should be Fe equal to QVH by H equal to Bi, it is Bi by I by Na. So this gives us VH is equal to BIH divided N, Q, and A. Now, small thing remaining here. The cross section of this thing, the cross of this thing is this thing, not this or this. It is this thing. So it involves this H and T. So that's why we have A equal to H into T, which should give us VH. H is equal to BIH, then N, Q, and HT. Again, we have some cancellations here. This H and H goes, and this gives, therefore, VH is equal to BI by N, Q, and then T. So this gives us the expression for the whole voltage. And this T represents that thickness which is traveled by the magnetic field. So always remember, this symbol could be different. It could be A, it could be X, it could be P. But what you should remember is NQ into the thickness crossed by the magnetic field. That is what we should remember. So a symbol does not count that much. It is the concept. It is what it is that counts. So that's why it is the thickness covered or traveled by the magnetic field. Now, from this relation, I can say that this VH is proportional to B, and this VH is proportional to 1 by N as well. So this philosophy in which VH proportional to magnetic field is used to create Hall probes. Hall probes are devices which measure magnetic field by knowing the Hall voltage. And next is it depends inversely on the number density of free electrons. So because of that, in metals, N is very high, so VH is less. So though it was discovered in metals, its value was very, very less, almost insignificant. But in case of semiconductors, once semiconductors came into discovery, they had got less N. So less N means high V. Even if there is slight variation in N, there will be high variation in VH. So this philosophy is used very much in semiconductors to check their quality and purity. So because even a slight change in N will bring a huge change in VH, Hall voltage, which can be measured properly outside. So value of VH high plus the variation also high, which helps in distinguishing the quality or the purity level of the semiconductors. So very much used in semiconductor industry for quality control. And I have already said this theory has decorated many people with Nobel Prizes. So studies based on Hall effect on several substances, for example p-type semiconductor, n-type semiconductor in tissues and so on. So those things have got many Nobel Prizes.